Here's a question for you. Just how far are the radical left and inside the Beltway bandits willing to go to stop him? We all know they hate him for winning the fight to protect life, for exposing their deep state, for draining their precious swamp. And they already know he'll crush Biden. So like a pack of rabid wolves, they attack. So let's impeach him. Let's get tainted radical left prosecutors to charge him. Let's conspire with Hillary and the FBI with fake stories about him. All to distract from Biden's incompetence, weakness, and money-grabbing corruption. But here's the thing. He'll never blink. That's called having the courage of your convictions. And it's why he's our president.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
All right, Mike, if that doesn't pump you up, I don't know what does.
Oh, we're back. MAGA is back, baby.
Ooh, feeling the heat.
Oh, I'm feeling the heat. I like the wolf intro, Donald Trump's strong point, him walking in. You can just feel that energy. We're back, baby.
You have to have the courage of convictions. I like it, man. He's
Oh, yeah.
He's not sleeping. I really believe the 2016 Trump might be back.
Oh, he is back. He is back. I'm starting to feel the energy again. People are wondering if he is still on his game. I still see it. I still see the energy. I still see the field all stacking up against him, and that's where he thrives.
Yeah, man. He's done well under pressure and negative press, and hopefully he can continue to keep the momentum and stay atop of the polls. Micah, what are we talking about today? Just give a brief recap before we get started today.
Ooh, we got a lot of stuff. We got Donald Trump up against everyone. We got polls about him. We've got people, new governors turning against him. We've got degeneracy in the streets and in the White House.
It's everywhere, honestly. It's Pride Month, so hope you brought your bucket today to throw up.
I did. On the 13th day of Pride, Zane said to me something. We're going to talk a lot about interesting subjects, so we are happy to have you here at the Base Boys. Zane, hit it.
Get it. All right, welcome to Base Boys Media. I'm Zane.
And I am Micah.
And we are based.
And we're boys.
Hey, that we are, Micah. We have an objective to create content to bring people back to God, share the truth in news, educate people in politics, and Micah, win the culture war. What do you think about that?
Oh, yeah. I am 100% with you. And that's why Zane and I are bringing you only the most based entertainment that's going to be enlightening you and showing you all the best in news and all the best in culture. So Zane, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. It's good to be here. It's good to be here with somebody that wants to start a news organization that believes in God. Do you think our news organizations believe in God anymore, Micah?
Probably not. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, all I see is one thing. A BlackRock-owned mega conglomerate that just pumps out dribble, all this nonsense to the people, trying to like suffocate their thought and mind and not show them the truth.
Yeah, just pumping out low quality crap everywhere we go, man. Nothing's good and American made anymore.
Yeah.
It's all just low quality stuff. So what does it feel like to wake up in the United States of BlackRock?
Well, it feels slightly owned.
Feels slightly owned? Feel like a piece of
I feel like a number rather than individual. Yeah. See, that's the problem that we have, is that they do put numbers on you, and every single thing that it makes you an individual, every single thing that makes you unique is stripped away from you in order for them to use you for their own agenda. They turn you from a a person, an individual, into just a number and a statistic that can be used for their own agenda. For example, they take different organizations and different groups. So, for example, why do all these corporations support the gay movement? Do they think they actually truly care about it, or is it because, hey, we need to use these people, we need to use these individuals for our own good? Because if they weren't trying to push something else on it, they would be using a totally different group. It's whatever group they fancy the most at that time.
Well, a lot has a lot to do with the corporate social credit score. You know, we don't have a social credit score amongst the people here in the United States. It's really no different than what we see in China. It's just a social credit score for the corporations.
Yeah.
And, you know, these tyrannical, totalitarian, governmental people can, you know, use it upon the corporations to manipulate, and then the corporations in turn manipulate the people because we are so sold and we are so attached to basically every major corporation that's owned by Vanguard and BlackRock. Mostly everything you consume is.
Yeah. I actually remember a story that kind of is very similar to that. Do you remember when the credit card companies were trying to change the ID tags on guns so that they could make their own gun registry after the government asked them to? Whatever happened with that? Because I remember hearing that news story, and I remember getting wiped. I remember that it was talked about for just a day or two, and then all of a sudden that news story disappeared. I actually wonder what happened to that, because if that is the case, we do live in a technocracy that is using its power in order to control the people. It's surpassing the government, and it's surpassing their ability. It's surpassing the Bill of Rights by using private individual corporations to take away our liberties instead of the government.
Coming directly from the government.
Yeah.
No, seriously. Multinational corporations control this country now, man. It's not the people. We don't have a representative government anymore, and that's what we need to fix. That's why we're here. We are here to try to save our republic.
That we are.
Yes.
See, you're hearing us complain a lot, but we're also going to hit you with a lot of solutions as well.
See, we need funding. We don't have funding. We can't do nothing without funding.
So that's why Zane and I are coming out both as gay, so we can get some ESG funding, get some loans from BlackRock.
I mean, whatever works, right?
If that's how you get funding these days, or we'll drink some Bud Light on air.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Well, speaking of gay stuff, we, you know, Biden's mission when he got into the White House, I remember him saying he wants to restore decency in the White House. So let's check out this decency here on clip 7.
Welcome to the White House.
Thank you.
Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Year. Happy Pride Life.
Oh, that yas in the back.
Yeah.
You are beautiful.
You are heard.
You belong.
You're understood.
You are loved.
And you belong. Some of the bravest and most inspiring people I've ever known. And
you're welcome.
Some good folks.
Can we take a little video? Hi, Mr. President. It is an honor. Trans rights are human rights. Oh, it's a video. Oh, it's a video.
Gay news. Are we topless at the White House?
So tasteful.
You said bring some decency to the White House. I just saw some indecent exposure there. Yuck. Oh boy. I think that he may have had a really strange time sniffing women there. He's like, that doesn't smell right. That smells. Oh shoot.
That's too old for me.
Too old for me, and that's a trans man.
Oh man. Yeah, that's more a Barack's thing.
Michael.
Oh, Michael.
Oh, Michael.
Man. Yeah, what do you think about that, Michael? Our White House is embracing sexual degeneracy.
Ooh, when the top of the government starts embracing different degenerate ideas and different type of sexual deviancy, then it sends a signal to a lot of different things all over that it's okay. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're having a weird place as Americans in the world right now. So, for example, we're supposed to be exporting democracy to the world and abroad. But if that's what democracy looks like, if that is what Western liberty looks like, then I don't think the world should want it.
No. I don't want it.
We're supposed to be the light on the top of the hill, the beacon of hope and prosperity for the rest of the world. But right now, we're looking a little bit sus.
We're the beacon of prosperity for gay stuff.
Gay stuff, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. And it's not even like the gay stuff. Like that's your bucket of fried chicken that you like to eat up every day. That's fine. But man, like it's all the other ideas that come with it and the other ideas and behaviors that come along with the LGBT alphabet mafia. It's, the system, they play the victim mindset, and the system is out to get me so bad that I can't do anything. I'm so oppressed, and it's the victim mindset that comes with it.
Yeah.
Is what's another detrimental behavior to society. Because if people are just sitting there playing the victim the whole time, they're going to sit there and just collect from the government when you have politicians virtue signaling to them and saying, hey, we'll give you reparations because you're gay, or we'll take care of you and take affirmative action because you're gay.
Yeah.
And then it just creates more government need and assistance. So
yeah, it does. After a while, there's so many different ways that they just keep on promoting this, and because they don't want them to get better, they don't desire them to be self-sufficient. They don't desire them to be self-independent, because if they're independent, then they no longer need the government and they lose their voter block. If that's the reason why they keep on pushing this stuff on these people and they keep on trying to pull them in, is because they use them as their voter base. Their base is that, and so they're uninformed, and that's the reason why they love them, is because they subsidize everything that they do, and then they basically use them as a pawn.
pretty much. Well, Mike, the fun Pride agenda continues. We'll go here to a high school in Huntington Beach, California. Gotta love math class these days. It's getting really woke.
Why are you showing this to kids?
Teacher comes in now, I think.
Hey, I'll warn you guys now, if you're going to be inappropriate, I will have supervision down and give all of you a Saturday school for next year. So knock it off. Okay.
You know, I'd totally be okay with that. I don't, I'll take Saturday school to protest that. You think the kids have the courage to stand up to that if they disagree with it? Most of them probably just sit in silence.
I think that I think that the kids were, after the teacher scolded them and said, hey, we're gonna have Saturday school, all the kids are like, I don't like this, but I don't want Saturday school, so I'll tolerate it. And that's the issue, is not enough kids are just standing up and saying, hey, I'm out of this. This is some weird stuff you're trying to push on me. Nah, we're out.
Yeah, I know I would be standing up for it. Maybe I would. I don't know. I didn't have to experience that in high school, so it's like I've never really worn those shoes. But at the end of the day...
Well, I think you and I have worn other shoes that a lot of people would attribute to this. For example, we lived during 2020, 2021, 2022, and everyone's telling us to wear masks and get vaccinated and do all these different things, not allowing us into public places, not allowing us to go different areas, being kicked out of bars and restaurants. And did it make us break, or did we actually stick up for our values?
Stuck up for our values.
Stuck up for our values. And so it's the same thing. If you extrapolate us onto this type of issue, then we'd be doing the same exact thing. People don't change. People who stick up for their values on smaller things will stick up their values on bigger things. That's one of the reasons why we are so that's what makes virtue. Virtue is being consistent in all things. And so virtuous people would say no to this and say no to the vaccine, say no to government tyranny, say no to indoctrination of kids and children. It is what makes us people of integrity.
100%. Well, Micah, how do you think Trump's doing in the polls?
Okay, so just recently he got indicted for another crime, or alleged crime, should I say. He got indicted in New York. Now he's getting indicted by, is it the federal prosecutors this time? There's so many lawsuits and so many indictments against him that sometimes it gets a little bit confusing because you're like, there's a lot of stuff they're going up against him with. But I like him even more seeing him suffer through all the different trials and tribulations. He is taking it like a champ, and it makes me respect him more. And I think the sentiment is shared amongst the people. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Do you think that Donald Trump 2016 fighting against this machine makes people like him more or less?
I definitely think the negative press definitely brings more attention to him, 100%. I mean, we've seen it time and time again prevail. And I don't think he'll fold. He'll continue strong. I mean, he hasn't stopped since. His polls continue to rise no matter what. He has the biggest lead yet over DeSantis. Interactive polls here from a CBS poll. He's crushing everybody in the Republican Party. I really think they're just trying to swamp the voting board in 2024 to put as many people up there to combat him. But I mean, really, Chris Christie, Asa Hutchinson. I could get behind Vivek.
I like Vivek. Vivek and with one of the Democrats, JFK Jr. or is it Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Are if there's after Trump, it would be those two. And so, but the game is still all on Trump. Like DeSantis, he's shown himself to be a little bit weaselly. I don't know if I can trust him. Scott, I just don't know enough about him. Pence, he's backstabbed Trump too much. Where's his loyalty? Haley, I don't trust her at all. She seems so neocon. Like she's just like a neocon.
Cuck-servatives.
Yeah,
that's what they're called now. Cuck-servatives.
Oh, really? I haven't heard that term yet.
I heard this term the other day.
Oh, really?
They're cuck-servatives.
Cuck-servatives.
They're not real conservatives. They think they're conservatives, but they're really just corporate world government leaders.
Yeah. That is true, because you have all these rhinos, and I think even better term for a rhino would be a cuck-servative. I like that. I'm going to start using that.
Yeah, dude.
These cuck-servatives like Chris Christie. Oh, man. And so none of these people excite me. None of these people really have a platform that really interests me besides Vivek. But even with Vivek, I don't know enough about him. He came out of left field. He's a tech billionaire. He says a lot of great things. He does have the America First as well. Okay, little side note, since we're talking about, I'm going to go to Vivek real quick. One of the things I do like that he says is he's like, I do agree with America First, but it's time that I take it to the next level of Donald Trump started the race. I'm here to finish the race. I do think that's really interesting. And when Donald Trump becomes president again, I want him to use Vivek so that he can be seen in the public. And if he's actually true to his word, I would love to see a Vivek 2028. I would love to see Donald Trump work with him, test him. And if Donald Trump then gives us the green light, say, hey, he's not deep state, hey, he's not a cuck-servative, hey, he's not a rhino, then I would like to see him on stage. I would like to see him.
I just want to see him because he's a brown person.
Zane's out here for that representation.
Affirmative action, You just got to get him in the office because they're brown.
Exactly. It's time we had our first brown president.
Yeah, we need a brown president.
We've already had the orange, we've already had the black, now we need a brown.
Yeah. Well, Trump's going to continue to maintain the polls. He's going to run no matter what. I think he'll win even if he's convicted, even if he's put behind bars, depending on where this investigation goes. What would be really awesome, though, is if he wins the election behind bars and then pardons himself.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That would be legendary. Like, let's just root for that. Let's just go to the mass acceleration movement and just charge him, convict him, put him in orange jumpsuit. And have him.
Can you imagine that rally he would be having in prison?
What would
my fellow prisoners?
What would the logistics of that be like? Like, how would all of his administration work with him behind the bars? That's
his one phone call would be legit.
Yeah, you get one phone call. All right, let me call McDonald's. Send me a large fried Coke.
Diet Coke, actually.
That's great. Well, he's being prosecuted, and he's actually going to take forth some action that us Republicans actually need in this upcoming term that he can hopefully secure. But he wants to hire a special prosecutor. We definitely need a team to go after Biden. It's the most corrupt White House we've ever seen. So I'll read this Truth Social here for you real quick. So now that the seal is broken, in addition to closing the border and removing all of the criminal elements that we've illegally invaded our country, making American energy independent and even dominant again, I immediately ending the war between Russia and Ukraine. I will appoint a real special prosecutor, not this lousy Jack Smith, fake Soros-funded crap, to go after the most corrupt president in the history of the U.S., Joe Biden, the entire Biden crime family, and all others involved with the destruction of our elections, borders, and country itself. So you think he should go just after Biden, or should this get opened up and open up the whole can of worms and go after Clinton and Obama? And
Lock her up. Lock her up. Lock her up. This is Donald Trump's 2015-2016 mandate, is to go after everyone. Here's the problem: is his hands were tied from 2017 to 2020
with the media going after him.
And not just that, he had the FBI going after him. He had the CIA going after him. He had all the intel agencies going after him. Crossfire Hurricane, which to me I find really interesting, because what type of paperwork did he have in the documents down in Mar-a-Lago that they raided? He had the FBI Crossfire Hurricane, which he declassified, right? He declassified that. And what did the FBI go down there to go grab? His Crossfire Hurricane papers. They're grabbing the papers that show that they are guilty. It's like they're almost trying to cover up something. And so what I'm saying is his mandate is to go after all the criminal elements. And so his hands were tied because he was under every single investigation, the Comey, the impeachment 1, impeachment 2. He had all this going up after him, but now he's unleashed. He doesn't have to try to get reelected. He doesn't have to try to appease the masses. All he has to do at this point is do the duty that he has said that he was going to do, which was fire everybody. Go after the Biden crime family, the Clinton crime family, the deep state, the rhinos. I want to see him like shatter the Republican Party as well, because what have they given us? We have these cuck-servatives. I'm using that term. I'm stealing your term.
It's not my term. It's shared from someone else.
I want him to go after these cuck-servatives and get rid of them. I want him to bring back the America First people. Bring back people who put America in front of everything. And we don't have to worry about, hey, I'm going to elect this guy who doesn't actually have my best interest in mind. And unlike Biden, who has China's and Ukraine's best interest before America. That's how can I elect a guy like that when I know that everything that he does is going to be for someone else and for a different country?
Yeah, fire all the bureaucrats. Now, we need it.
Absolutely. And so we also see that with the we just need the people who've done criminal actions in America to be arrested. Zane, do you think that Donald Trump should almost go for this arrest of the crime families that we have in America? What do you think?
The question is, does he have the time to do it all? Does he have a big enough team and staff to do everything while under constant pressure of the media, while having to worry about all of these other things that go into improving the quality of America and making America great again? And then at the same time, you've got to bring millions of dollars worth of litigation that's going to be involved against these people. You know, like do we have the time and the resources to do it all at once in 4 years? Because he only has 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years is not a long time in the politic window because it just goes so fast.
Yeah.
So I really don't know.
That is a good point, because it will take some time to collect all the evidence and go after them. So it's not just a 6-month process; it'll be a 4-year process, if that.
And then what party takes over in 2024? Is it Democrats, is it Republicans? I mean, you know, do you keep the investigation ongoing? Do they halt it with new administration? Like what? I don't know. It's endless. It's
Yeah.
not something I like to think that I have a solid answer to. That like I'm right. I think this is the best way to do it. But yeah, I just know eliminating a lot of the bureaucratic processes and just cutting out all of the top-down administration state that we have.
Yeah.
That's not serving the American people.
Then how would you say we go after things? Do you see it more as a grassroots movement where, for example,
Firing squad.
And there is, if people have been doing treason, you know what the penalty of treason is, right?
What is it?
Oh, firing squad.
Is it actually?
Firing squad or death by hanging. Yeah, the penalty for treason is death. And so, Base Boys isn't advocating for the death of anyone, but, you know, someone's treasonous.
We advocate being saved by Jesus, and we truly believe that you, Klaus Schwab, George Soros, and Bill Gates can all be saved by Jesus and continue and stop continuing to enslave humanity into your wicked ways.
And if not, I digress. But I think that we could go after a lot of these people. And I think one of the things that Donald Trump could do, and this is in my perfect world, is he could give us the information that we need in order to know who we need to actually be fighting. So, for example, we have DAs being put forward by George Soros. We have the different prosecutors, different people being pushed forward who are clearly, whether you want to call them deep state or whether you want to call them people who are just being pushed forward to push an agenda. Like I said, all of George Soros's boys and all of his prosecutors. If Donald Trump gave us a network to know exactly who these people were and how we can get them out and how we can replace them with true America first, and not even just America first, but patriots, people who love America, people who don't want to destroy the Constitution. If he gave us a roadmap for that, I think that he would be able to set us up for the next 10 years. And even if a Democrat does get into the office, we will be able to slowly take out, by voting, every single one of these prosecutors, every single one of these city council members, every single one of these small individual people who all add up to make a big monolith of evil.
Yeah. Well, there's just so many factions within the Republican Party, so are we going to be able to maintain that plan for 10 years? That's why we need to motivate people to be to take over their local areas as much as they possibly can. And
that's why we're here to announce Zane's candidacy.
Yeah.
For...
No, that's you, Micah. We're going to put you up there on the billboard.
I am not yet a resident of Oklahoma. But once I am, I'm going to be going after Kevin Stitt.
Yeah. Good old Kevin boy. Man, so our lovely governor here in the great state of Oklahoma is now getting blasted. Not blasted. Verbally blasted by Oklahoma governor. Or sorry, I can't talk today. Trump blasts Oklahoma governor over the DeSantis endorsement. So our great governor, not so great governor, Kevin Stitt. What do you know about Kevin Stitt, Micah?
I am very new to Oklahoma, so what I know about him is very little. I know that he had a campaign event. I know that he invited Ron DeSantis out to go speak, and I know that he endorsed him. That's the extent of my knowledge of Kevin.
Well, let me tell you this. So he actually needed Trump's endorsement in his last election.
Oh, really?
Even Trump even says this. Governor Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma, who I don't know very well, called me before his last election to say he was in big trouble and very much needed my endorsement. I love Oklahoma and won 77 out of 770 counties, something that never happened before. So basically, he came in and supported Kevin Stitt and endorsed him. And then now he's turning his back and endorsing Trump.
Oh, is that true that Donald Trump won every single county in Oklahoma?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
I told you, dude. This is Trump.
That's a wipeout.
This is Trump country.
Well, what is Kevin Stitt doing thinking he can, usurp that? He's going out and endorsing Ron DeSantis?
Well, he has every right to go and vote and endorse someone else.
Yeah, of course. But it's political suicide at that point.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing that this is MAGA country. This is America First Nation. This is the Bible Belt. We are in the place that not even Ronald Reagan won that much. So I'm seeing here on Donald Trump's Truth to continue. Ronald Reagan was the second to ever win, like with only 56 counties. And so Donald Trump had a complete wipeout, and the number 2 is 56, Ronald Reagan, who was notorious for his big wins. I can't believe that people would make these, Governor Kevin would be doing that. I don't see him doing very well in his next gubernatorial run. I don't see it happening, because how can he go against Donald Trump, endorse someone else, and think that he's going to have a chance for the next guy who says, hey, Donald Trump's going to endorse me?
Well, Kevin Stitt's not going to be up for re-election again.
Oh, he's not?
This is his second term, so he can only serve 8 years as governor in Oklahoma. And so he probably doesn't care. He doesn't need votes again.
So what's the term that you like to use for these guys?
Conservatives.
Conservatives. He's allowing other people to push forth an agenda, and it's interesting. Like I said, I don't mind that people vote different things, but I think it is a big betrayal to someone who did get you elected. And so Donald Trump did put him in that spot, and then he decides to go stab him in the back. Which
it's just silly that they endorse these people, and they just turn a blind eye to all of the political persecution of Donald Trump and the false allegations, and basically just the kangaroo court that we've witnessed over the last 7 years with Donald Trump. Do they just ignore that? What are their thoughts on that? What do they think?
Yeah.
How can you sit there and endorse somebody else that's never even been president, someone that didn't have an election stolen? Like, how can you endorse DeSantis?
I don't know.
What makes them think that it's probably big money deals behind closed doors somewhere?
He might have gotten a book deal out of this.
Yeah.
Him, Bernie, and future politicians are all going to be getting book deals out of this.
Yeah. Do it for a book deal.
Exactly.
Do it for a book deal. Well. So we go into our next thing. Micah, would you ever want to live in a 15-minute city?
Ooh, 15-minute city. No, not at all. The whole idea of 15-minute cities is just a way for them to exercise more control on your life. It's their way to take from you your ability to be a individual. They're stripping you away of your rights and putting you in a 15-minute city so that you have to listen to every single thing that they want you to do, and then you don't have the ability to drive outside of your 15-minute city because you have to live, work, all your friends will be there, and it's a complete dystopian mess. It is the absolute worst that they can possibly, well, they can do worse, but it is their step in the right direction to get to a worse place for people, because you're no longer allowed to drive what you want to drive. You're now taxed. Your carbon credits are now being used.
Yeah. So go here to this article from Western Standard. The World Economic Forum calls for a number of cars to be slashed. By mid-century demand, urban travel is set to double, according to the World Economic Forum. Along the current trajectory, 2.1 billion passenger vehicles are emitting 4.6 billion tons of carbon dioxide.
I do think that they need to have more public transportation. So there needs to be more subways and trains and different things like that. The answer isn't to take people's cars.
So you
want
to share a subway with Jordan Neely? People like Jordan Neely? You want to be in
I'll get him in a
crowded city subway
chokehold.
spaces?
I would just get him in a chokehold and take him out.
Look, I know you lived in China, and I know you lived in like these Asian places with, great public transportation, but I am so opposed to it. I like traveling in my own vehicle. I don't want to share a space with somebody else.
Well, I'm not saying I would be using the public transportation, but other people could use the public transportation. Like, for example, having a trolley system in a city makes things very convenient because...
Why do we need public transportation, though?
It's cheaper. It's, for example, you don't have to pay for the gas in your car. You don't have to pay for the insurance. People who don't have a car, people get into a car accident. Because I know for me, I've used the bus quite a few times. I remember getting in a car accident and then having to use the bus for a while. and I relied on the public transportation, not needing to take Ubers.
I was kind of hoping you'd be like, well, for the climate, we can't.
For the
drive our
climate,
cars.
Zane.
We can't drive our cars because of the climate, which is a total BS. I think that entire climate scam, it's an entire scam. I don't think fossil fuels are as detrimental. And that's a whole nother topic for another day, but I don't think fossil fuels are detrimental. So, like, anybody that makes that argument.
Well, my argument
valid in my book.
isn't necessarily for the climate, because I do think that we need to be good stewards of the earth and not dump stuff into the ocean. For example, you have China and India and Africa. They're the number 1, 2, and 3 respective country, and continent that dump stuff into the ocean. They're not stewarding it. They're dumping pollution left and right. America isn't the problem for pollution. We're not even on the list.
China's worse.
Yeah, China's way worse. India's way worse. Everyone is going to be way worse than us. But the problem is they keep on pushing it on us. And so their answer is public transportation. I want public transportation, but not for the same reasons. I want public transportation because I want the cost of transportation to go down. So, for example, I like trains. I want there to be a train from one city to another. I would love it if California actually finished the rail system that they were supposed to do. Yes, we're $100 billion in the hole, and nothing ever has gotten done yet. You know the whole California thing where Governor Cuomo, not Cuomo. Who's my governor? Newsom, yeah, there it is. Newsom, he's $100 billion in the hole for something that the ground hasn't even broken on. It's absolutely big waste of money. And so there is problems when you have the government trying to do things like that.
So you're calling for big public transportation, big public funding projects. Let's get all this collective money together and fund public transportation. Let's not let the private market make nice, great, independent cars for the people where they can drive to the next city on the roads versus having massive, expensive public transportation. I'm just thinking of the logistics of, like, going on a mass scale. I'm saying hypothetically, if we were to come up with a policy that every city has to have, not even mandating it, but if we decided to increase public transportation, I'm just...
Well, the problem...
I think it's a good idea, but I'm opposed to it, like...
I do see what you're saying, because there is monopolies that the government creates. Like, how can you compete with the rail system when me as a private individual can't use the ability to take someone's house from them in order to build a highway, but the government can. So, for example, if I'm a private individual, how am I going to be able to build my monorail that will be able to make me money when I don't have the ability to do what the government does? The government has the right to monopoly, and they are the only monopoly that's allowed to work. So how can you compete with their busing systems when it's all paid for by the taxpayer? How are you able to compete with their train systems, their trolley systems, their busing, their monorail? How are you able to compete with all that if it isn't completely abolished? So I do agree with you at some points where we have to have the government out of it completely, because they are, like the DMV, just a vapid waste of money. But at the same time...
Hey, those are some nice people at the DMV.
I love the DMV. They have never made me want to go postal. And post office is a completely different story. Don't even get me started on them. Okay, back to the DMV. We have different things. I do support the fact that we need some type of public infrastructure, but if it can be done by the private sector, it'll be so much better off. I don't see the possibility of how they can do it outside of giving private contracts to different corporations to allow them to use eminent domain and take people's houses in order to build their subway system. Mm-hmm. I don't think there is any good means to bring it up. But the one thing I do know is I don't like 15-minute cities.
Yeah, no, seriously, it's you don't want to live in a box. They're just gonna put people in boxes. They're gonna give them low quality entertainment, and they're just gonna get depressed, and they're gonna do drugs, commit suicide, and live on the streets. And it's just like, people need to feel the land. People need the space and be able to homestead like we were. I mean, this is God's green earth. God gave us this open land and property for us to thrive off of, and we live on concrete slabs that are some are beautiful, some aren't, but I mean, for the most part, cities are slums, and it's That's why everyone's getting out of the sticks like we did.
That's true. But speaking of post office and rejecting modern society, I think that makes us that's a great transition into Zane. Did you hear that Ted Kaczynski died?
Oh no, the Unabomber died?
The Unabomber died. So it's interesting because he just died, and I find his life so interesting. The fact that he's a genius, who is a mathematician, who was able to do a whole bunch of things, and then the government got a hold of him. CIA did some experiments while he was at Harvard, giving him a whole bunch of different type of MK Ultra mind control stuff. And, you know, they also did that to, what was his name, Charles Manson as well, the whole LSD studies, and they're doing a whole bunch of different stuff like that. And so Ted Kaczynski, he then snapped, went to Berkeley, started teaching there, then finally went out, lived in nature until they finally started encroaching on his land by building a highway through the cabin in the woods that he was living in. And so his whole philosophy revolved around, we need to get out of the cities, we need to get away from technology, we need to get away from the industrialized world because it is robbing from us the very essence of who we are. And he had some very, very interesting things to say about society. So even if we go to our very first story and we have all of the different transgender people at the White House, how have they been done wrong by society? They're being convinced that they need drugs, that they need different types of entertainment and different types of ways to make them feel the way they aren't. They're not women. They're not men. They are they're transgender people who are now taking pharmacological substances in order to make them feel a certain way. And one of his interesting quotes is, imagine a society that subjects people to conditions that make them feel terribly unhappy and then gives them drugs to take away their unhappiness. Science fiction? It is already happening to some extent in our society. Instead of removing conditions that make people depressed, modern society gives them antidepressant drugs. And to me, I'm going to stop right there and be like, isn't that exactly what's going on right now? He took a more radical view, saying, hey, we need to try to abolish modernism and send us back to the dark age so that we can live in harmony with nature. But it's this interesting thing where he just died on the eve of Apple launching their virtual reality so that you can be plugged into the pod, you can live in your 15-minute city, and you can be told what to do by the government. And Zane, do you have a problem with that, or do you like the SSRIs being pushed on the young and
just pump me full of SSRIs?
You look like you like a good pumping.
I need it. Main vein my arm with it. Oh. Yeah, no, seriously, that's what's going on in society. People are getting pushed into an unhappiness. We live in a box. I mean, we basically live in small pods in cities, and people are being pushed to move into smaller areas, and it's just hard to resist the conditions that are being pushed upon us. But, you know, he makes a great point against the leftism. So you know a little bit more about this because you're well-versed in it because the Unabomber's your guy, right?
Hey, if I ever snap, the cabin in the woods is where I'm going.
But we found an interesting article. I agree with the Unabomber about leftist in the title. So Ted Kaczynski, he was the mathematician, as you know. He's the Unabomber that everyone knows about. But he makes up some great points in his manifesto.
Yeah, this is all in his manifesto.
Describe that a little bit, Mike.
Yeah, so what ends up happening is he was on a rampage of mailing bombs all across America to try to stop the Industrial Revolution. So he was sending stuff to all the different people who he thought were harming society. And so then he sent his manifesto to the New York Times, in which I think it was around 30 to 40,000 words, and described all of his criticisms with a modern world. And so he said, I'm going to continue doing a bombing tear if you don't publish my manifesto. And that's actually inevitably the way he got caught, because his brother read his manifesto, and his brother said, like, hey, that sounds like my brother's writing. And so then he ended up contacting a linguist, and they ended up working with the FBI in order to go grab him because they knew where he was. He wouldn't have been caught unless his manifesto got published. But his manifesto got published, and it's kind of interesting. Before you go into that, is he didn't believe his manifesto would be taken seriously unless he did all the acts of crime, which is just a really interesting point. And so yeah, I think it was the New York Post or the New York Times that published his manifesto.
Interesting. What I find most interesting is how he calls out leftism and socialism and the democratic socialists and the left-wing ideology of politics that we see, the equity-driven, entitled-driven, oppressed-driven people are dangerous to society. And he says best here, two psychological tendencies that underline modern leftism we call feelings of inferiority and over-socialization. So basically just feeling entitled, as I said, and just wanting to over-socialize everything and create a collective system for everything. There's a lot of highly influential people that are in the left-wing area that are influential in promoting people to live the leftist ideology. Live however you want. Do whatever you want. Do whatever makes you happy. Live a life of pleasure. Give me pleasure, then...
Or give me death.
Like, it's literally their motto. They don't understand the natural law of humans and how we're supposed to be. What do you think about the leftism and his dangers of leftism?
I think it's interesting because he mentions the feelings of inferiority with defeatism, guilt, self-hatred. It's interesting because they do end up hating themselves. For example, we see Black Lives Matter. We see the white liberals, for example, hating themselves, doing their whole mea culpa, self-flagellating, saying like, "I am so bad. Punish me for my what's the word that they use? They use my white privilege. I am so sorry for my white privilege." They do have this leftist guilt, and it manifests in the strangest ways, and it is... I just don't know how they get to that thing. Is it because they live in cities and they are withdrawn from nature? They're withdrawn from the thing that connects us to the earth. It connects us from our flow state. Is that what you think it is? Or what makes it so they're so disconnected and so guilt-ridden as people?
I don't know, Micah. You're stumping me this morning.
I know that I'm stumped as well. That's why I'm asking. And I do think there is some other interesting points that he does make. And so he does have some criticism of conservatism as well. One of his criticisms of conservatism, if we scroll down a bit, is that conservatives, they're unable to conserve anything because all they really say is "Oh my gosh, you darn liberals, you're not playing by the rules." They don't do anything. And so he says conservatives are fools. They whine about the decay of traditional values, yet they enthusiastically enjoy technological progress and economic growth. Apparently, it never occurs to them that you can't make rapid, drastic changes in technology and the economic system of society without creating rapid changes across the whole array of society. And so it's really interesting things that he says is conservatives are fools. We aren't conserving anything.
Good men do nothing. Have you heard that saying?
Yeah.
Good men do nothing. That's why we need to step forward and actually do something.
And so, like I said, I'm not agreeing with him with the fact that it's all about industrialization, but I do think there is a whole aspect that he does make a good point of saying, hey, we are getting away from who we truly are as individuals, and we need to actually get back to whatever he says. I don't agree with a lot of his things. I disagree with his acts of terror and his violence, but I do think he makes some really interesting, valid points, and I think it's something that we need to look into ourselves and say, society made this person. How do we get back so that we don't cause Ted Kaczynski's to form, and that we don't cause the radical left who are topless at the White House to form? Because both are for terms of radicalism that I don't want. I don't want bombs in the mail. I also don't want naked transgender men / whatever gender that person was. I don't want either one of those. I want a peaceful, harmonious society that promotes God, country, and family.
Yeah, it's not the culture we want, and these people don't understand. We're just hateful, bigoted hate mongers that don't like your degenerate lifestyle, but your ideologies are not conducive with freedom whatsoever. I mean, you literally want majority rule to trump that of the minority rule.
Yeah.
And it's a totalitarian force that we're reckoning with, Micah.
Yeah.
How do we stop it? We talk about creating our own parallel systems. We talk about running for city council, taking over the school board meetings, public office, as I say, again, starting businesses and creating businesses that have good cultural values. How do we do that? How do we tear down this system? Like, just us as a grassroots movement.
I think you a lot of stuff you said right there all kind of adds up to one thing. We outlast them. We will always outlast them. But the problem is, how do we make our society last while we're trying to survive through their tyranny? And I do agree with you. We do need to run for political office. We do need to fight back. We do need to be the people who are at the doorstep of chaos, the doorstep of collapse, and say, no, this transgender studies is not going to be happening in my 4-year-old's kindergarten room. This I don't know, whatever thing they're showing on the TV in that classroom with all the teenagers isn't going to be going on. And there's not going to be penalties if I don't kneel on the ground and worship at the altar of homosexuality. There needs to be people to fight back against it and say, no, I'm done with your ways. I'm done with your culture. We're parting ways.
Yeah. I don't know. So it's hard to change people, man. A lot of influencing, and we got a huge uphill battle as Christian conservatives because of the institutions in this country are so powerful and hold such a brute force. But we're going to tackle the leftist movement, Micah.
Yeah, we are. We're going one step by one step. You know the Japanese saying of Kaizen, one small incremental change at a time. We're going to take it back. Mm-hmm. See, leftists are good at doing big, broad, sweeping movements. We're patient. We can take a step at a time, and we're slowly going to take back everything that has been robbed from us.
Well, we just continue to have kids. They won't because they can't, because they sterilize themselves. And, good, decent, modern people that don't believe in the crazy leftist Marxist ideology won't live up to the survival of the fittest.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, don't be a leftist. Don't be a victim of corporate world government that is manipulating you to be a totalitarian force. We want you to like and subscribe for more, because a lot more is coming through Base Boys Media.
So, Zane, also tell us about what our schedule is going to be like for the next couple weeks. What are we going to look like? When can they tune in and start seeing a little bit more Based Media?
Well, we are in the process of getting everything up and running, and it's just been a whirlwind of trying to figure things out. But we're hoping to go live at 8 a.m. every day this week. But tomorrow we'll be live at 11:30. Have a
Central Time.
11:30 Central Time. That is Central Time. That is correct. And then every other day, it will be a normal 8 to 9 every day for your Base Boy Story Hour. We have to combat Drag Queen Story Hour every way we possibly can, Micah.
That we are. And we are going to be taking down Drag Queen Story Hour with the Base Boy Story Hour. So, Zane, it's been a pleasure. And we have been the Base Boys. Zane, is there anything you'd like to say before we head out?
Like, subscribe, share, comment. We want to know your grievances. We want to tell us if this show sucks, if it's great. We just need to hear your feedback and let us know what we can do better and how we can make Base Boys Media the best media and most based organization out there. Without further ado, it's been a pleasure. I'm Zane.
And I'm Micah.
And we are
the Base Boys.